Okay, so did Daniela say best Amazon purchase to date or best Amazon purchase today?
Oh,
Because during the pandemic, both are relevant, right?
it's very true. Your pick, Voltaire.
Oh, let's see what's arriving today. I think I have some dog supplies arriving today. Yesterday was laundry detergent. I have this odd, odd sort of affinity for doing laundry. It makes me so happy to fold everything and have everything smell so fresh. I know that's a
That's
problem.
not weird. I think that's totally
Not weird,
normal.
not
Yeah.
weird at all. Nina, what's your favorite Amazon purchase to date?
My favorite one to date. So I am definitely not the big Amazon purchaser in my household or apartment. My boyfriend holds that crown. But my favorite one was actually something that I got him for his birthday years ago, which are very small little squirt guns, not like the super soakers, but just small little handheld ones. I got it for him when he first got our cat that we still have now in an attempt to train him to not claw up the carpet or anything else. And the cat has trained himself, but now remnants of these squirt guns are still scattered across the apartment. And we'll just have little water gun battles in the middle of the day. So it's the gift that keeps on giving, which I really enjoy.
It's very, very cool. Matt, how about you?
Yeah, so I love to do home improvements and always doing something around the house. So this was probably a few years back. I got a recommendation from Amazon that popped up that said, you may be interested in this. I think it was a 16-inch adjustable wrench. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course I need a 16-inch adjustable wrench. Why wouldn't I? So I ended up getting that, and I've used it now for multiple projects. So
That's awesome. I think that there's a special category for best, cheapest purchases you've ever made. I think like 20 years ago, I ended up buying these micro fleece robes, and I bought them in the wintertime, super plush thick. They only came in extra large, and there was only one red one and one green one left. So we joke about the fact that we have father and mother Christmas robes, but they are like the best robes ever for 20 bucks. I mean, when you amortize the cost of those robes against the number of times, the number of hours we wore them and the number of days we wore them, it's just, it's almost like they paid us to buy those robes. It was wonderful.
That's amazing. Jessica chimed in on the chat with blue light glasses. I have a feeling blue light glasses had a huge moment in the pandemic in the summer of 2020. Jessica, you are probably not the only one who invested in those. Cat litter, I don't have to carry it. Subscribe and save comes in handy for that cat litter. For Samantha, if you're a cat owner, you should invest in those squirt guns Nina was talking about too. Too funny. Well, we are at the top of the hour. We've still got some people trickling in here. I'll give them a couple minutes, but happy Tuesday, everybody. You are in the right place. This is our webinar, The Amazon Effect in Higher Ed, Creating Meaningful Personalization for Prospective Students. We're excited to get started. I'll start just by introducing myself here. I'm Daniela. I'm the Director of Web Strategy here at Carnegie. We are a leader and innovator in higher education marketing and enrollment strategy. We offer groundbreaking services in research, strategy, digital marketing, lead generation, slate optimization, student search, and today we're talking about website development. My background is in marketing. I spent about 7 years as part of the marketing and communications team at Skidmore College here in upstate New York. So I'm thrilled to be on the other side of the table delivering some meaningful resources to all of our higher ed professionals out there. I want to do a quick audio check, make sure that you all heard me and my introduction. So if a few of you could use the raise your hand feature. Yes. Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Lots of familiar faces. Medical University of South Carolina, Wilkes, Central Michigan. Welcome, everybody. Hello. Let's cover some starting details here. We've got about 45 minutes planned with our speakers, and we're reserving 15 minutes for Q&A at the end. We are recording. That's one of the questions we always get, and we will send out this recording for download by the end of this week, along with the slide deck. So you all will have early access to watch this. let's see here. During the webinar, you can ask questions in a few ways. We've got Voltaire talking about the banana slicer in the chat, which is a great example of how you can join the chat and share questions that way. You can also use the Q&A feature to send questions directly to me so that I can ask them live of Matt, Nina, and Voltaire. If you do want to join the chat, just make sure you have your settings set to everybody. Lastly, we want to help you. So make sure that you complete the post-webinar survey. It does give us some good feedback for speakers and topics in the future. But before we get to all of that, let's introduce who you'll be meeting today. First up is Voltaire Santos Moran. Voltaire co-founded and led mStoner as CEO and head of client experience for the last 2 decades before Carnegie acquired mStoner in October 2021. He has spent more than a decade in development, alumni relations, working on print publications, alumni magazines, capital campaigns, and website launches. He's a natural storyteller. He enjoys teaching others how to effectively tell their brand story, empowering colleges and universities to forge transformative, memorable, and successful connections with their audiences, which is extremely relevant to our topic today. His expertise is in information architecture, content strategy, and governance that moves institutions from a project mindset to a process mindset. Welcome, Voltaire. Always nice to have you. All right, next up, our friend Nina Petropoulos. As part of the inbound marketing team at Carnegie, Nina works closely with clients to design and develop custom interactions through Carnegie Clarity, as well as gathering insights on clients' unique audiences. Nina's mission is to create relevant and tailored experiences for prospective students as they navigate a variety of higher ed websites, which is why we invited her to present today, while maintaining a high level of web standards and brand styles for each institution. Before joining Carnegie, Nina was a freelance web developer who offered design, development, and consultation services throughout her education at the History of Massachusetts Lowell, where she studied English. Welcome, Nina. As an integrations manager, we've got Matt Herr from the _ division here. He's hands-on in the Slate integrations process, ensuring that client data moves seamlessly while data integrity is maintained. Matt's got more than 14 years of varied experience in enrollment management and has worked in more than 30 Slate instances at Carnegie. It's safe to say, Matt, that you have walked in all of our clients' shoes and can provide innovative ideas and efficiencies to automating processes. So thank you all for being here. Really excited to get started. What we're going to do today, our goal is to equip you with a roadmap to implement, or is to equip you with a framework for planning meaningful personalization for prospective students at your institution. Roadmap, framework, you need a plan no matter what you're doing here, right? And we're going to do that in a few ways. We're going to define the purpose of personalization and the promise of what it should deliver. We're going to talk through some tech options and the tools that you need to implement and integrate them. We're going to show you how powerful personalization can be when you integrate it with your CRM and your website. And then we're going to talk about some results and some examples from our clients at institutions. But before we do all of that, we're going to ask you a question first. So let's take a poll here. Well, I want to know what you all think about prospective students' personalized expectations. So what do you think prospective students are looking for when we talk about personalized institution or personalized experience? Do they just want to see their name in your marketing materials? Are they looking for the full-blown Amazon-like experience where, you know, they interact and a website recommends something? Or does everybody think this is creepy and nobody wants this? So we'll give a few minutes here to let these answers come in because they are coming in fast and furious. Voltaire, you want to take a guess?
I'm guessing that most everyone's going to choose 2.
Oh, it's like he's a mind reader. So we're at about 75% participation. Number 2 is in the running, in the lead here, but I'm going to give you 5 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. Voltaire, you are correct again. 87% of participants think that students are expecting an Amazon-like experience. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing the results here. Oh, here, wait, I'm going to start. Yes, I'm going to stop sharing the results. And then I'm going to turn it over to you, Voltaire, to talk about whether or not you think they're right.
Purpose and promise. Thanks, Danielle. And hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. So, personalization has been something that we have been talking about and wanting to do within education for at least a decade now. We've had tons and tons of our conversations with our clients about finding ways to make their websites more personalized. And usually when these conversations happen, everyone says something along the lines of, well, we want it to be like Amazon. We want it to be so easy and so predictive, and we want to be able to tell people what they want. And I think that's a really interesting way to view personalization. There are a couple of reasons that might fall short. The first is that when we talk about personalization, at least for the last 10 years, people have been talking about amassing content as the biggest challenge to personalization. So when people say, well, we wanted to personalize our site, but we just didn't have enough people to generate enough content to make it more meaningful. That's usually what people say is the biggest stumbling block. And what we're learning now is that that's actually not necessarily the biggest challenge. So when you think about what we use Amazon for, Amazon is really great for point of purchase, right? We need a light bulb. We need kitty litter. We need to buy batteries. We want to buy a camera lens. So Amazon is terrific at showing you what they recommend, what other products are like that, what you might consider, and what you might bundle with your purchase. The problem with applying that to higher ed is that we are not a point of purchase sort of decision. We are a complex decision that takes place over time and that requires multiple inputs and is highly emotional. So Daniela just put up in front of us a journey map, or a sample of a journey map that we've created. So over the last 20 years of research, what we found is that it doesn't matter whether you are an undergraduate or a graduate student, whether you are applying for a law degree or a medical degree or an associate's degree, every prospective student goes through a 4-phase journey. It starts with understanding and exploring, narrowing choices and applying, deciding and accepting, and committing and transitioning. Every single student we've ever talked with, regardless of institution, has walked this journey. What differs in this journey is the thoughts, the feelings, the actions, and the opportunities based on the student that we are trying to target. Let me give you a few examples. When we talk about understanding and exploring, this is the initial phase where people are considering what institutions might have the right fit and deciding whether this is the right time to go to school. You talk to a rising junior and senior, you'll find that this is a fairly time-bound part of the process. You talk to someone who's considering community college, they can be an understand and explore for 10 years or more. And it's because they're post-traditional learners who are trying to decide, well, is it the right time? Is it worth the investment? Can my family handle the sacrifice that's going to be required for me to give up time with them in order to go back to school? So that's just one example of the ways that actions, thoughts, and feelings might differ, though the process is the same. So when we talk about personalization, one of the big realizations that we've had is that it's not about amassing content. It is about delivering relative and relevant content to prospective students wherever they are in the journey in the ways that are going to be most helpful for them. So it's not about creating a storehouse, a bunch of content. It's about figuring out what the next steps are, what the pain points are in the decision process, what the ways are that we can support them. So Danielle, if you'll move to the next slide, meaningful personalization is actually not about pumping in a bunch of options. It's about stripping away noise. It's about providing relevant information. And at the end of the day, it's about supporting the journey that students are going on. And with that as a framework, I'm going to turn this over to Matt and Nina to talk about technology and integration.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So a couple of things for the the technology that goes into this, think about all the data that comes into play when you are thinking about the prospective students that are on the audience. There is that exploratory phase where there's clues and information that's being presented on the site even before someone comes into the CRM. Think about how it is that they've gotten to your site, organically or via campaign. Is it their first time to the site, second time to the site? What type of content has been viewed before? But then there's also a variety of known data that then gets collected into the CRM and can be used there. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the pre-data that's being collected, but Matt, want to toss it over to you to talk about known data that we have access to and the technology used there.
Yeah, in our worlds right now, we have lots of data on students, visitors, purchase data that we have all in our CRM. And I find that schools are very good about utilizing that data in communications, in messaging students, whether it's text messaging or emails, but we're not as good about using that data where students are mostly present, which is right on the website when they're doing that exploratory phase. So when a student's in their exploratory phase, wouldn't it be great to access that data that we already know about a student or already know about an IP address and start to advertise in the way, and like Voltaire said, clearing away some of the noise. So if we know a student's very interested in business, we don't need to talk about how great our science department is. Let's really focus on that student in the business world and display pictures that entice that student a little bit more.
So for segmentation, Matt mentioned a couple of channels where segmentation is already at play, mainly in communications. Think those email campaigns that are going out, or even think about the landing pages that you might be developing for a specific advertising campaign that you're running on Facebook, paid search, whatever it might be. The question is whether or not you are continuing to offer communications to those segments on the other channels on the website. And most of the time, that's not the case that's being in there. I think one of the big challenges for why website personalization is one of the last channels to be adopted, despite it being such a high traffic channel for our audience, is some of the challenges of sharing data out across a variety of systems. This is a challenge that every industry faces, not just higher ed. One of the ways that we accomplish and address this challenge for our Clarity service is through the use of a new type of technology that popped up on the map a couple of years ago, Customer Data Platform, CDP for short. That's how you might hear it elsewhere. The one that we use is BlueConic. They're actually a technology partner of ours. And the goal with the CDP is to keep data always focused on the user, create segments that can be created by marketers, system admins, you name it, and then share that information out so it can be used across your variety of channels. And that offers your consistent groups that are based off of demographics or known data, as well as behavior, whether it's known from a form or known based off of website behavior, and then to continue and keep communications consistent across a variety of channels. We've got a couple of very specific examples of personalization for higher ed. But as we pivot from that idea of segmentation versus personalization, what's the difference? I wanted to offer just one quick example of what this looks like in another industry. So I grew up on a small farm, but another small fun fact about me is that I ride motorcycles. And within motorcycles, there are a lot of different segments in terms of audiences. You have your cruiser people, sport touring people, you have male riders, and then you have female riders. So when I'm interacting with a brand for outfitting motorcycle apparel, they put me into certain segments. They know that I'm a sport touring rider. They know the types of brands that I have purchased or the brands that I have viewed on the website before. They can infer that I really don't like the color pink based off of the different types of clothing articles that I've purchased before. And when they send me email communication campaigns, they put me in the appropriate segment. They'll send me an email saying, springtime is just around the corner. You've bought items from us before, why don't you buy items again? And personalization is not just sending me a email communication that aligns with the segment that I'm in, but continuing off of segmentation by making it personalized based off of something else that's known. So that personalization aspect is the next key here. And personalization is talking directly to the person that's within the segment that you have. So that email communication that comes in, that is sent out to previous customers, trying to get them to make new purchases for the season ahead. The recommendations that I see are personalized to me. They mention the brands that I have purchased in the past. The products that they show are showing in the colorways that I prefer, not the pink ones that I try to avoid. But I ignore emails, and I'm not going to have my credit card ready to go to make payments from that email. I might remember the product that was suggested, the brand that was mentioned, the promo code that was offered via the email, but a lot of my actions happen on the website. When I go to the website, the question is that personalization continuing? Is that segmentation continuing? And even for industries outside of higher ed, e-commerce ones like this, the answer is usually no. When I go back to that Revzilla website on the homepage, I see images of male riders on cruisers. Not really my segment, not really my cup of tea when it comes to style. And when I finally make it to the women's section, I still don't really see images or products that align with my past behavior. So personalization is small details to make your segments and communications super tailored to the individual that you have. And if you're doing this on other channels, that's perfect. But are you prepared to use the other channel where students are the most, and especially maximizing the opportunity that that channel offers, i.e. the website, even for students that are anonymous?
And I think it's important also to personalize both on the website and also segment on the website, because when we're personalizing, if we already know information about a student and we're asking them to fill out a form or an event sign up, something along those lines, we're then asking them, hey, fill out your first name, your last name, your major of interest, all of that information again and again and again. It's really important that if we know information about a student, all of that's pre-filled in. That way we don't have to continually ask them similar questions time after time and potentially get different results each time. We want to be able to get that information clearly and concisely right off the top. The other thing is, like Nina said, the segmentation. Let's show things on the website that actually matter. If we know a student's been to campus 15 times, do we really want to start driving that student to come to campus more? Or is there something else we can really start driving that student to do? So utilizing any kind of portals or embedded forms on your website to truly segment, but also then to pre-fill and direct right to that student's personality, their interests, and also the data we already know about them. So I like this slide here because it's really talking about how our website is very segmented currently within our own institution. So I like to say that your website is a universal platform. Your website is that platform for the institution. And within the institution, you have multiple constituencies running into that platform. So you have graduate admissions, student affairs, institutional advancement, undergrad, marketing, information technology. Everybody's really involved in the website. But at the end of the day, nobody truly owns the website. A lot of schools might say, well, the marketing communications department owns the website. And while that's true because they generate content and post the content, really everybody is the owner of the website. So everybody needs to have a hand in this segmentation and utilizing of the website. So it's an extension of your campus. While we send out emails and we personalize the emails to get students to campus, and we personalize the visit while students are on campus, very rarely now are we personalizing the student experience off campus, which is the website. And we found out in COVID times that that is a big driver. Students aren't able to visit campus. Students aren't able to talk to professors. So how do we then personalize the student website within their experiences and their interests? So tying your CRM and the data you have within your SIS and your CIM into your website is truly essential when we're starting to really live in a very virtual world. We also want to tie into any kind of other data that you have. All data should live in the CRM system. A lot of times we get faculty and coaches who will keep an Excel spreadsheet on their database. All of that really needs to funnel into one location. So we want to utilize that, as well as anonymous data. There's a lot of ways you can get anonymous data for visitors on your website. If you're using a CRM like Slate, you can gather ping data. You can utilize Google Analytics to gather some anonymous data on people who are visiting your website and start modifying the website to to meet those people where they are and what their interests are. Are they visiting the financial aid page? Well, let's pop up a little more financial aid information. Are they visiting a lot on the academic side or on the graduate side? Well, let's really start to market to those people and start pushing things to start gathering more information, like a interest form or a pop-up with some information that's asking for their information. It's also essential to normalize your data. A lot of times people will have multiple systems that are doing multiple different things. We want data to talk seamlessly throughout all of our systems. We want students to come, or we want data to come in through one channel. A lot of times people will say, okay, well, we're going to store all the information in this system, but we have these 6 other systems that are interacting. Well, we want one flow where data comes into one system and out of one system to have that most most relevant information, because we don't want a student to have a biology major in one system and a history major in another system. Now you really don't know how to interact with that student. You also don't want to know that they're in Pennsylvania in this system, but maybe in Maryland in this other system. Again, we want to have a seamless flow of information to normalize your data across databases. It's also essential, as I mentioned before, to integrate your website forms with your CRM. Anytime that you can post a hosted form right from your CRM, it's essential to do that. It's also recommended to post your forms in the shortest form necessary. Ask only the essential data on your forms. We get tied up too much in, we have to ask all this data because this might be the only time we might get information from this student. You will get information from the student in other ways. As long as you have a plan on how you're going to be getting that information, that's the most essential way to do it. So for example, let's say on our academics page, we have a quick form that asks, give me your first name, last name, and email, and that's it. But because they're already on the biology page, we can pre-enter that information to say, this person might be interested in biology. And now we have their first name, last name, and email. With that information, we can follow up with that student multiple times in different ways to say, we saw that you were interested in biology. We'd love to know more about you. Why don't you meet a professor? Here's a sign-up form to meet one of our professors. Do things that are enticing to the student, and while then you're enticing them with those additional add-ons, gather a little more information. Give us your address so we can send you a confirmation letter, and have reasons why you're asking all this information, not just give me your race, give me your socioeconomic status, give me all this other stuff while they're filling out a form. That turns off a lot of people, because the more questions you're asking, the more the student's going to say, I don't need to send all this information. But how many times have we been on a website and all we saw was enter your email address for a promo code? Yeah, I want a promo code. I'm going to send you my email address. Then they send you back an email that says, thanks for signing up. Here's your promo code. Give us more information about you. And then you're constantly getting a little bit more information each time you're interacting with that student. So coming up with a cohesive institutional plan, and this works not only for recruitment on the admission side, but also for donor recruitment. It works well for current students if you're interacting with your current students on the website.
For a couple of results, we're going to go over a few examples of how we have been personalizing websites via our Carnegie Clarity product. Just a few other pieces of background here. The type of technology that we're using, I mentioned up at the top, is a customer data platform, BlueConic, and it really addresses so many of the integration points and system connections that Matt just went through, whether it's connecting to a CRM, an opportunity to help normalize data, connect to other systems like those random spreadsheets that exist in other places, or sending data out to other channels like email communication campaigns or advertising campaigns, and most importantly, allowing you to personalize any aspect of your website, whether it's adjusting something like a homepage or deploying a pop-up, without having to make massive adjustments or changes to your source code, download plugins for your CMS, have a web developer come in, all of that. So as you're assessing and looking for tools that are out there for website personalization, looking for things that are CMS agnostic, open, and allow connection to a variety of systems is certainly key. Again, Blueconic is the one that we use here. So everything that we're going through are campaigns that our team has executed, written copy, and all three of these examples to use Slate as the CRM, though any CRM can connect so long as open connections like webhooks or SFTP options are supported. So first example that we've got here is from University of Cincinnati. Cincinnati has been a partner of ours for a number of years now, and I think every year kind of ups the ante on different ways to personalize experiences. One of the key places that we look to personalize content for students at every stage in the funnel, whether they are anonymous and just browsing the website or have already inquired or have already applied or have already been admitted, is that homepage, knowing that it's such a high traffic spot. And oftentimes the images or content that is designed and placed there is static and something that every single student may see, regardless of which segment they fall into. So in this example here, we're focusing on anonymous users who have been to the University of Cincinnati site before and are returning now for a second visit. We can assume that they are a prospective student because of things that they've done or context about their current visit. For example, we know based off of their IP address that they're not accessing the site from the UC IP range, meaning that they're off campus. We can bundle that and also say, let's require that this person has also viewed a page of content related to admissions or financial aid, exclude anyone who has maybe clicked off to a portal or some sort of internal system. And let's assume that all of those people are prospective undergraduate students. When they come back to start another session, they've already seen whatever type of message is there by default on the homepage. They've likely seen the CTAs that are often present there, encouraging people to request information, register for an event, start an application, get into my CRM by any means possible. And they didn't take that action. So when they're coming back for the next time, let's try that same appeal, but make it relevant to them. So the way that we did this here is, again, we've excluded out all the people that we believe are current students or not within our prospective anonymous audience, but we're also keeping track of other pages of content that have been viewed. Matt mentioned pre-filling a form, an RFI form that might be on a biology page, and use a hidden field in the background to signal that someone has expressed interest in biology. We can leverage that information here too. What you might see within the text is a line that says, the world-changing ideas of tomorrow are being discovered by accounting students today. That accounting keyword is what we use as a dynamic variable. This allows us to personalize the message for our segment of anonymous prospective students on the website. So whether this student browsed the catalog pages, interacted with a degree finder module, or just made it to the accounting page organically, our system is keeping track of all the different programs that have been viewed over time. So if it's accounting, we can mention accounting and show an image to match that CTA. If it's biology, we can mention biology and show an image to match that program of interest. And the results, we're keeping the same main CTA, visit or apply. The results, when we personalize it, use the data that we have access to, acknowledge that this is a return user and respond to them based off behavior that they've demonstrated, are pretty telling. So an 8% click-through rate in terms of the rate at which these people would click either of those red buttons on the main page, but most importantly, an objective increase in conversion rate. As you're thinking about website personalization campaigns or any sort of A/B testing for any campaign in the future, one aspect to your reporting that I definitely encourage you look to introduce is the presence of a control group. So the idea here is that of all of the people that are eligible to see this campaign because they meet the criteria and they have a value in the variable that we would like to use to personalize the experience, 10% of them do not see the message that we've designed. They see the organic experience as it exists on the website. What that allows us to do is track the rate at which those people go on to take whichever action it is that we're promoting. And then we can measure that against copy A versus copy B, image A versus image B. And that gives us an objective measure of just how important it is to personalize the experience in the way that we've designed it. So in this case, it was a 22% lift in the conversion rate compared to the control. So that's a lift in how quickly these students are making it into your funnel, either by registering for those events or starting applications. This increase in conversion rate is a stat that you'll see on the other examples that we have in here. So wanted to throw that definition up at the top. But you might be starting to think, all right, now I have a blueprint. How are the other ways that I can insert a variable to adjust the CTA? So another common segment that you might have is your inquiry audience. And in this case, what we're using as our variable is the Dart that's associated with that audience themselves. So for those who may not be too familiar, DARTS is an advanced student profiling strategy that we have here at Carnegie. And what it does is it reveals unique enrollment segments within your prospective audience. We do this through the use of surveys and interviews with your current student audience, as well as your prospective student audience, put all of that data together to draw connections between demographic and psychographic factors to determine what it is that attracts a prospective student to your institution. And it allows us to define and deliver really specific messaging frameworks to those students out there. So the three colors that you see align with the main archetypes that we have for personalities and aspects that students will be attracted to a school. In this example, Carnegie University, the prospective students that are out there are going to fall into one of three darted areas. Maroon, which is the group that will be attracted to that idea of resiliency and grit. Yellow, those who are going to be attracted to that idea of innovation and forward thinking. And purple, those that are going to be drawn to compassion and the sense of community. If you think about how it is that you would want to target your inquiry audience and encourage those inquiries to become applicants, you can use these messaging frameworks to think of copy combinations, image combinations, to personalize that apply message and make sure that when you deliver that CTA, it is as relevant as possible and as cutely delivered as possible to make those students take the action that you intend. So for results here, I can't mention the institution's name, but this is real client data and they're a large public. What was really cool about this is we were able to run two campaigns side by side. One audience were our inquiry pools that had any sort of Dart code associated with them. So we knew which messaging theme they were going to be most attracted to. And the other was the audience that wasn't able to match to that messaging themes. So the right series of data points here you can see are just towering over the non-darted campaign activity. What we're able to see is an increased click and conversion rate whenever Dart campaign messaging was present. But what I think is most telling is the orange bar, which shows us of all of the people who saw this messaging and then went on to apply, how many were actually admitted. When we think about brand affiliation and the amount of time and the amount of factors and how emotional that decision is when you're determining which college or which institution you'd like to enroll to, every single moment that you communicate with a student is an opportunity to really nurture that, address the CTAs or appeals in a way that's most going to resonate with the audience. So whether you're starting with a visit us message, an apply now message, a submit your deposit message, use as much data as you have that's going to strengthen the appeal, whether it's something really focused on messaging combinations like DARTs, program of interest, like in the example before, or any other data point that maybe you have access to in your CRM or are collecting based off of website behavior. All of that's an opportunity to provide relevant, meaningful, and impactful personalization experiences on the website. So last example, we're progressing throughout the funnel here. Now we've got our people who have applied, they have admitted, and now we want to help them make that final decision and take the final step to enroll. One of the things that I think is a challenge is the fact that Giving Days and Alumni Advancement like to run their campaigns at around the same time that yield campaigns go to. A couple slides back, Matt was talking about how the website is a platform for all. And oftentimes it's designed to be static. And that's a missed opportunity when you have all of these different segments and audiences that are coming to the website themselves. So for Ithaca, this is one example of a tactic that we run quite a bit that I think should be in every marketer's playbook for website personalization. And that is adjusting your homepage to be relevant for admitted students whenever possible. So in this example, you can see a couple of previews within here. By default, any student would go to the Ithaca College site and see the Ithaca College Day of Giving is here and a button to go on and submit a donation. And that's a real problem for admitted students that are coming to the Ithaca College site because now they have to dig a little bit deeper to find the actions that they need to take, like submitting their enrollment deposit, registering for orientation. But perhaps worse, they're not seeing CTAs or content or messaging or support, things that align with their specific journey, what it is that they need to do next, and being respectful for everything that they've done so far. So the results here in terms of getting students to go on and take that action, what we were able to do is not only show, take the next step, submit your enrollment deposit, register for orientation as an appropriate CTA to this audience, but we personalized it by mentioning the college that that student was admitted to. One other thing that Ithaca College did, which I think was a really great idea, is year round, they have department specific pages that are designed to be for new students coming in. So there might be links off to appropriate clubs and student organizations or videos introducing them to key faculty members. So we were able to give a quick link for those students to continue to get excited about the college that they are going to be enrolling in the fall. What we saw here were some really impressive numbers. I mean, truly impressive when we think about some of the metrics that we see from these personalization campaigns. A 27% click-through rate in terms of the rate at which people would go and press that button that says, take the next step. A 35% conversion rate when we think about those next steps, enrollment deposits, registering for events, you name it, as well as a 35% lift in conversion, the objective rate in terms of which we move that needle. But what I think was most important here is that, again, this gave a framework and a blueprint for how else can we personalize experiences, strip out noise, give something that's relevant and respectful to, again, those actions that have been taken, intentions that have been demonstrated before. The very last bullet you'll see on the right-hand side is that another campaign that came from this was shown to students who did take all of those actions. They completed the checklist. They're coming, they're showing up in the fall. And so we continue to show them personalized content, but just personalized content, showing them content that was based off of the admitted college that they were going to, things that was showing them relevant things for them to explore. Personalization doesn't always have to be focused on the KPIs or common CTAs that we think about for every point in the user journey. Sometimes you just want to personalize the experience to personalize it. Keep that affiliation going, keep that interest strong, reduce summer melt, or apply it to any aspect of any segment that you have throughout your marketing journey.
To add on to that real quick too, with the application, even on the application page, as they're filling out the application, you don't want to have a link on there that says apply now, things that just make sense. So we do want to make sure that you're not asking a student to visit when they're on the visit page and already filling out a visit form. So just tailoring it to what your population is even at this moment. That might be a low-hanging fruit, just to say, if we're on a visit portal, let's not ask them to click out of our visit portal to get back into the visit portal again. So just looking at ways to efficiently utilize your data that you have on the students and what pages you're currently on and adjust your web pages.
Perfect. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Nina. We're running a little ahead of schedule, which is great because I've got a number of really good questions in here. Nina, I'm going to tell you to take a sip of water because I think some of these are going to you here. First, let's go with this first question here. Let's talk about privacy concerns, especially with students under 18. Are there any privacy concerns that we need to be aware of when we're doing personalization like this?
Yeah, great question. So I'm no legal counsel, so I can't give legal advice. This is definitely something that it's up to an institution to determine how it is that they want to talk about what type of data is being collected and also determine how that data might be used. But this goes beyond just website personalization and extends to everything, whether it's email communications, even Google Analytics data that's being created. One of the other tools that's out there or practices that is usually very closely related to website personalization is consent management. So using banners to gather consent, manage opt-in or opt-out, giving options is definitely something that you want to think about and keep high on the priority list for institutions. What I will say is website personalization, I believe, is a really valuable opportunity and channel, especially with how privacy restrictions are affecting other mainstays within the advertiser or marketer's toolbox, like Facebook or other social platforms, and some of the age requirements there for list-based campaigns.
Definitely check with your counsel, though, because of GDPR concerns and all of that.
I was just going to say, thank you for clarifying, Nina, that that you're not legal counsel. That's always helpful. Another question, and actually, I think this one might be good for Voltaire and Nina. For a better personalization experience, what advice would you give to enhance a website right off the bat?
Nina, I'm going to let you answer first, since you've done a lot of personalization from the examples that you've shown in the last part of the webinar. What did you find to be the most effective in terms of prioritizing personalization efforts?
Yeah, I'd say thinking about where a student is in the funnel, which actions they've taken, and which actions you want them to take next. So many times the homepage is the first spot that our team will look at and think about, what can we do here? How can we slice and dice segments? Which CTAs can we remove? Which CTAs can we replace? So if you have a homepage that has those three common buttons, request info, visit now, and apply, maybe think about, how long is that relevant? When does someone come to the website? When do I strip that away? If they're coming back for their second time, do I show them something else? If students are accessing my site internally, am I showing my current student on-campus population something else that an external audience might see? So based off of on-campus versus off-campus, that's one great opportunity, but more so thinking about which action is relevant based off of prior engagement on the website.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. All right, I've got some questions for you, Matt. Are you ready?
Hit me.
What are your thoughts about adding images to forms if they're not embedded on a landing page, which would be ideal? I think we all are in agreement about that. Does that help or hurt conversion? Should we keep forms to just text and fields?
I think the way I would answer that is it depends how long your form is. I would not make a form more than maybe 10 questions. I would try to keep it as absolutely short as humanly possible for your process. Now, with that in mind, I would ask the questions that are relevant for your process to continue. So if you have rules that say, we need an address or we need a school, maybe you do ask that early on. So you're getting that information so the rest of your process can continue. But try to limit it to your most minimum amount of questions. Now for images, I think it would be beneficial. So if you're asking on, let's say if it's a page specific form, like a biology page, having some kind of biology theme to it, that can't hurt. That's always, I think, beneficial because it's keeping them engaged in what they're actually filling out. If it's a more general interest form, my thinking is you probably don't need it. So I would look at what you're actually trying to do. If they're signing up for a fall open house, maybe you want a fall type of a picture on there. If they're signing up for a business day, maybe something more businessy. Again, theming is always a good thing because it's showing them that you're involved in who they are and you know what they're signing up for. So it's keeping that cohesiveness all throughout the engagement process.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. While I have you sort of on air, Jessica asked a question to just the hosts and the panelists, and I'm wondering if you can share your response, but she wanted to know, do most of you duplicate match by email in your CRM? And maybe talk to us a little bit about deduping.
Yeah, deduping, the pain in every enrollment manager's side. So you will always have some duplicates in your system. That is beyond the truth. You will always have that, but we do try to minimize that as much as possible. Again, it goes down to the questions that you're asking on the forums. So what is actually required? At minimum, I would recommend first name, last name, birth date, or first name, last name, email. So if my name is Jimmy Smith and I was born on 1/1/1985, you'll be able to match me to somewhere else in the system where Jimmy Smith exists and his birth date's 1985. The areas where we get into trouble a lot of times is with email addresses. Students have multiple email addresses, moms and dads throw their email addresses in there, it becomes a huge mess. So that's where it can become problematic, where you get Jimmy Smith and it's jsmith@aol.com. Mom might be Jill and dad might be John. So you're trying to figure out, is this the student's email address? That sometimes becomes problematic. You can also ask some questions on your form to truly figure out who's filling out the form. Is it mom and dad? Then we can ask, what is your parent information? And then what is the student information? So just trying to think of what are those problems that you currently have and adjusting the form as needed to answer some of those problems. But you'll always have duplicates, but we do want to try to have at least that minimum amount of information. Now, when you're following up with the student with an email, I would always have a pre-filled out form. So send over the necessary criteria to have the form filled out automatically. So then we already know who that student is. They're just updating and adding additional information, and it's going directly into your CRM to that specific student, rather than having them fill out their first and last and all of that again, and potentially then creating a duplicate in your system.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. And actually, Jessica has a follow-up. What are the best form fields? Is it first name, last name, and birth date on each form?
Great question. I would probably stick with first name, last name, email. And the reason for that is if I fill out a form on your website saying my name is Matt Herr, my birth date is 1/1/2000, whatever my birth date is, then you don't have any other way of getting in contact with me. So you're stuck now. You know that Matt visited your website, but that's all you have. I would stick with first name, last name, and email. That way you can follow up with an email to that person and get some more information. I have seen phone number, although is it worth, and it depends on the size of your institution, is it worth you having a physical person then calling that student to then have that engagement? If you're a large institution with 500,000 applicants a year, it might not be worth it. So first name, last name, email is the better way. If you're a very small institution where you do have a lot of personal communication, and every time they fill out an inquiry form, you follow up with a phone call, it might be worth having a phone number on there. So then you can have that counselor or a counselor or somebody on your staff reach out to that student.
Yeah, so this is actually fascinating. We have, I see Andy and Jessica are both chiming in on this about the date of birth, especially. Andy said he was at NAGAB in a presentation, told everybody to remove date of birth from all RFIs. We have a great post on the Carnegie blog right now talking about the anatomy of a landing page that converts, and specifically how many form fields should be in your RFI. And our recommendation is, no more than 4, and exactly what Matt is saying: first name, last name, email, maybe academic program of interest. So if I could ask, I know my colleague Lizzie is working the back channel there. If she maybe can share the link to that blog post, that would be super helpful, but I will direct everybody to check that out, because that's a great resource for a lot of the questions that we're having here. This is awesome conversation having here. Let's see, we've got so many other questions. I'll stick with Andy. At NAGAP last week, he learned that one can record and insert a video being sent out via Slate to an individual. What are our thoughts on including videos to personalized emails? I don't know who wants to take this one. Nina, Matt?
Yeah, I'll kind of take it from the Slate side, and then maybe if Nina wants to jump in. I love personalization. Anytime that you can personalize, you should. It's a weighing game. So you have to put it on the scale and say, how much do we want to personalize without being creepy, but also how much do we want to spend the time personalizing? So there's a little balance there that you have to do. If it's a quick email that you're doing a quick video from the dean and say, hey, Matt, I saw you visited last week. So excited for you to come back again. That would be pretty cool. How much time does the dean have to do those personalized emails? Maybe not as much, but can you make it more of a generalized personal email? Something to the fact of, hey, thanks for attending our open house. I really enjoyed seeing you on campus. I really hope we get to connect again. That's more generalized. It's not, hey, Matt, but it's still very personalized because that student had that experience on campus. So trying to think of the messaging is most important within the video side.
One thing I can talk about in regards to video and its application for website and campaigns that we've done there. lately, especially with all of these schools being spotlighted in the college tour, I think that that has produced a lot more content within the video medium that up to this point, at least I think a lot of the clients that I've worked with have somewhat struggled to gather, especially when these videos are highlighting different student types and populations. The opportunity to embed a YouTube video and have it feature the transfer student and their success story on the admissions page and deliver that to people who have previously viewed transfer content on the site, or the international student success story, or the student who graduated with a degree in engineering and is now working at SpaceX. A lot of opportunities there. I think pairing it with some sort of text that introduces it is always key, because you'll have some people that need it now. But if you have video content, we've seen a lot of great success when we've A/B tested it against static images. So it's just a matter of having the right quality of content, I think, as well as a subject matter that is varied enough to address the different segments that are going to be applicable and out there to see whatever message it is that you're pairing it with for a CTA.
It's a great point. And I think that touches on Marissa's question, who said, are there any practices that you would implement specifically for international students, or are these tips pretty universal across the board? And, you touched on those segments and knowing that segmentation and speaking to those segmentations. So thank you very much for wrapping that in there. Anything specific you would call out for international students?
We've done a number of international campaigns, and I think just making content really easily available to those students is one other low-hanging fruit opportunity. I remember one campaign for a school where there was an inquiry form specifically designed for international students. You submit the form and it goes to the correct admissions counselor and they reach out. And just through the presence of, we used a pop-up campaign in this case to deliver the content. So an international student would be on the admissions page. We know that they haven't yet requested information. We also know that they're not on that page with the RFI form. We would present them a quick link to get access to that page. I think there's a lot for that international audience, whether it's making the mediums and channels that you want them to go through easily accessible, or even just making it easy for them to continue to explore. It's a real shame, I think, whenever you're a student and you're trying to find the scholarships that are appropriate for you, or the admission counselor contact information that's appropriate for you, or deadlines that are appropriate for you, and you have to click and click and scroll through all of this content. Website personalization is a great avenue for some quality of life improvements for those segments. And again, you can use it based off of retargeting, like they have viewed international campaign content before, they've clicked on a campaign, or based off of their IP address. So anything and everything for the international group. I'd say the same for other kind of secondary segments too, like the transfer audience works well.
Wonderful. All right, so I've got sort of some related questions here about taking personalization sort of beyond. And so stay tuned, everybody. We are going to talk about personalization for alumni and personalization for current students, but we do have some questions. What happens after this highly personalized marketing students come and realize they're part of a greater mix, or that their archetype isn't prevalent? And then somebody else is asking, I'd love to use personalization for retention efforts to increase the student experience. Where would we suggest starting for some of these? Is it the website? Is it beyond? I don't know who wants to take that one. That's a heavy question.
I think it probably depends on the segment that you're talking about. The website, I think, is relevant for every segment that you have out there, but it might be most important for your prospective students that either haven't entered the funnel yet or are in it. For other groups that have maybe passed that finish line, there might be other mediums, other placements, other technologies that you can look to first. But that's my initial take. Matt, what's your thought?
Yeah, I would start at least in your emails. So are you truly segmenting and focusing on true personalization with in your emails, and grow from there? Because that's pretty low hanging fruit, pretty easy stuff to get in touch with this and track even on the students. From there, then I'd go a little bit further and look at any kind of portals that you have. And again, my frame of reference is more on the Slate side, but any kind of portals that you may have through your CRM, and then grow into the web side of it.
Fantastic. All right, here's a great question. What kind of personalization can happen when your institution doesn't have a CRM?
I can take this one. So when Clarity started as a service, and that's the website personalization and marketing attribution service that we offer at Carnegie, there are a couple of years there where we weren't connecting to CRMs, hadn't quite figured out the perfect way to connect the different systems in a way that made sense and was easy for us to be able to replicate from institution to institution. And the website personalization that we did execute was mainly based off of kind of retargeting, but the difference is that instead of having a retargeting ad that would display on a different site, it was retargeting and showing content based off of website behavior themselves. So whether you are personalizing experiences for someone that's in your CRM that might not be present, or even just an anonymous student, thinking about what has that person done on my website, which pages have they viewed, which pages have they not viewed yet that I want to encourage them and introduce them to. There's a world of opportunity there that can be done just based off of thinking about user behavior on the website, key paths, journey flows that maybe you're thinking about during a website redesign. And it'll take you a while to exhaust that. And especially as we think about the percentage of students that are stealth applicants, maybe that's the key area to think about, because website personalization offers a really unique opportunity to communicate, respond, and nurture an audience that doesn't already exist in the CRM, whether you have one or not.
100%. And can you clarify, Nina, somebody is asking if Carnegie Clarity is a CMS or if it integrates with other CMSs?
Great question. Love it. So Clarity is a service that we provide at Carnegie, and the technology that we use is a customer data platform called BlueConic. There are no changes that need to be made to your CMS. It doesn't matter if you're on WordPress, Drupal, some homegrown solution. There are no plugins that you need to manage, no source code lines that you need to change. Our system basically sits on top of your website and can select and adjust content and manage code snippets within the platform itself. So it can exist independently and be used universally by people in a variety of departments.
Perfect. I've got one more question. I know we're running up on time, but this is such a good question, and we get questions about buy-in all the time. What advice do you have for encouraging on-campus collaboration to move toward personalization? We have a lot of independent actors who are fiercely protective of their data and not a lot of integration or sharing. And then as a follow-up, would you recommend a dedicated web expert or a dedicated admissions person, who's responsible for personalization? This is a little bit of a governance question, so all three of you feel free to chime in here. But advice on getting buy-in, working towards personalization.
Yeah, I would say that this is something that we see a lot, right? And typically the players are marketing and communications, admissions to a certain extent, sometimes IT. And it's very typical for each of these areas to be functioning on their own. Sometimes, for instance, IT owns the content management system, marketing and communications owns the website itself, and admissions owns the CRM. So one of the ways that we recommend that people start to build bridges and break down silos is to find a campaign or find a project that you can all work on together. The best way to break down silos is to do something that's manageable, that is time bound, and that is measurable success-wise, because the more you are able to measure success, mutual success, the more you're able to prove the benefit of collaboration, the easier it is going to be for you to take on more integration and more unification among the major players within a college or a university. So that's where I would start, is find something that you can all endorse as a discrete campaign or discrete project, do an after action, and see where you can take it from there.
Fantastic.
You deal with a lot of this as well. Any follow-up on your end?
I think I agree with everything that you said there, Voltaire. The one other factor that I would just throw out is maybe do some research and take a look at how the expectation for website personalization is growing amongst every single segment that's out there. It's in everyone's best interest, no matter which team you're on at an institution, to take advantage of that, add it to your toolbox and use it. But looking for those examples those projects where everyone can collaborate, and really framing this idea as a tool, a methodology, and a strategy that doesn't belong to any one person. It is in the best interest of the institution. Framing it that way is always the start. So as anything, the presentation of the idea, I think, is key.
I think lastly to that, I would just add, look at the technologies you're currently using, make a list of them and see where is there overlap or where are there gaps? And then where can you fit in either a CRM? We had a question before about what if you don't have a CRM? What do you do? So maybe you want to invest in a CRM as an institution and you can cut out 3 or 4 different things to then invest in a CRM and have a core team that can grow and kind of fit that role that you're talking about.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. I know we're at the top of the hour, but thank you to those who have hung on and asked these really thoughtful questions. We've got some resources that I know Lizzie shared, a reminder to take our survey and to tune in for the next time we talk about website personalization. Thank you all very, very much for joining us today. And thank you, Voltaire, Nina, and Matt. Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thanks
Take
all.
care. Bye.